Tina Mott was an American retail clerk who was brutally attacked and murdered by her boyfriend, Timothy Bradford, in June of 1996. Bradford had slit Tina's throat before beheading Mott, skinning the body, and dismembering the corpse. Timothy then discarded Tina's bare skull into a body of water called Linden Lake, where it will eventually be found near the town of Hamilton, Ohio by two teenage fishermen. Timothy also stated that he had flushed some of Tina's internal organs down the toilet and then dumped the remainder of Tina's remains near a sewage treatment plant. Due to the savagery of the killing, investigators had great time and difficulty trying to figure out the identity of the skull, which would later be determined to belong to Tina Mott. This is the story of the murder of Tina Mott. Tina Elaine Mott was born on February 21, 1975, in a town called North Tonawanda in upstate New York. It is not believed that Tina had any close family members, and it is believed that Tina was on her own. One of Tina's friends, Jennifer Pylon, stated that Tina was happy among her friends, but rather shy in public. Tina endured multiple hardships, but was able to overcome them. Tina loved to sing, and she had been a fan of karaoke. Tina liked to write and was apparently a fan of poetry. Not much is known about Tina's early life, and she did not have much of a close family, but it's likely that Tina had minimal schooling and got a simple job as a store clerk at a local thrift store. During this time, she met a man named Timothy Tim Bradford. Bradford worked assembling picture frames at an art shop. Tina had met Tim sometime in their teens as Tina went door to door to sell magazines. Apparently, the two became close friends and started to hang out together. Eventually, both Mott and Bradford moved into the industrial town of Hamilton, Ohio, a city just 20 miles north of Cincinnati. Tina would then give birth to a son named John Mott. Once in Hamilton, however, Tina began to have relationship issues. She would tell her co-workers of potential abuse from Bradford. Tim's mother stated that she was afraid of Timothy due to his explosive temper and affiliation with Satanism and devil worship. In June of 1996, Tina Mott did not report into work at her store. No one had ever heard from her, and her whereabouts were unknown. Police then got involved and asked Tim Bradford where Tina was. Timothy had told police that Tina had went back to New York, but this was proven to be false, as no one in New York saw her. Strangely, Timothy's mother reported Tina was missing and not her boyfriend. The community then searched for Tina, but to no avail. After nearly a month and a half, 20-year-old Tina Mott still hadn't returned. Then, on August 7, 1996, two teenagers, Tim Lyons and TJ DeJohn, went fishing in a body of water called Linden Lake in Hamilton, Ohio. While fishing, the two pulled a human skull out of the water. Unsure what to do, the teens left the skull at the lake and contacted the authorities. According to one of the teens, the investigators did not treat the teens' initial story seriously and even believed that the teens may have put the skull there as a prank. A larger police presence arrived and searched the surrounding area, but the skull was the only thing found. Police noticed that there was very little organic flesh left on the skull, likely due to animal activity. Police then sent the skull to the College of Mount St. Joseph and into the care of forensic anthropologist Beth Murray. Forensic anthropology is the use of applying skeletal analysis and archaeology techniques to solve a crime. Dr. Murray was able to deduce that the skull belonged to a white female in her 30s. The skull was badly damaged with knife and meat cleaver marks, including a large mark on the top of the skull. The jawbone had also been forcibly removed, and all the teeth had also been removed. With lack of evidence, the skull was passed on to several investigators to obtain DNA samples, but to no avail. At this time, investigators checked a list of missing people in the area. 4 were reported missing, and one of those 4 was Tina Mott. In a last-ditch effort, Dr. Murray then drilled into the skull to obtain bone samples, which were isolated from the outside environment. Dr. Murray then performed a mitochondrial DNA analysis. Mitochondria is an organelle in most eukaryotic cells that provide the main source of energy for a cell. Mitochondrial DNA is passed on from the mother to the offspring. Dr. Murray then obtained a DNA sample from Tina's son, Johnny Mott, and compared his DNA to the mitochondrial DNA from the skull, and the DNA was a match. The skull, indeed, belonged to 21-year-old Tina Mott. The police then obtained a search warrant for Tim's home, where he had lived with Mott. Investigators were able to access a storage unit that Bradford rented, where they found 19 knives of different sizes, a book about killing people with their bare hands, and a notebook filled with satanic imagery. Inside the home, forensic investigators found the remnants of blood on the floor of the living room and the bathroom, all belonging to Tina Mott. Police had also obtained a surveillance photo of Bradford at an ATM machine using Mott's credit card. Timothy Bradford then confessed to the murder and killing his girlfriend, Tina Mott. On the night of June 4th, 1996, Tina Mott and Tim Bradford were at home playing the board game Monopoly. At some point, the two got into an argument that then became violent. Tim had been under the influence of drugs at the time. Tim had hit Mott, causing her to bleed. Tina then went to the bathroom to clean up. Bradford then claimed Tina charged at him once she returned to the living room and that he attacked Tina in self-defense. He then accidentally slit her throat with a knife, and she began to bleed severely. Tim then left the house in order to remove himself from the situation. He then returned and found Tina in the bathtub. Timothy then beheaded Tina, removed the skin from her body, and flushed her organs down the toilet. To further deny any identification, Timothy removed Tina's jawbone with all its teeth with some needle-nose pliers. Timothy then dumped the remains near a sewage plant and disposed of the skull in Linden Lake. Timothy forgot to remove the two back wisdom teeth because he did not see them as they were covered by the gums, but these teeth did not yield earlier DNA evidence. Timothy Bradford was tried for the murder of Tina Mott in 1997. He offered no explanation on why he killed Tina except that he had loved her. Timothy recounted the killing. "I took a meat cleaver and started taking her apart. I cut Tina's head off. I used a hacksaw to cut up the body. I flushed some of her down the toilet. I put some of her in garbage bags, and I dumped some of those at the sewage plant and threw the skull in a lake." Timothy was then convicted of voluntary manslaughter and abuse of a corpse. His sentence of just 25 years angered and shocked the community. "I truly love Tina with every fiber of my being," Tim stated during his trial. Timothy Bradford is scheduled to be released in November of 2023.